Welcome to the Dirt Broadcast. Dig into the bottom of every situation to get to the truth. Here's your host, Jason Mills.
Hello, folks. Hope everybody's doing well out there. I am your host, Jason Mills, on the Dirt Podcast on this Wednesday, not Tuesday, but on this Wednesday evening. Thank you for joining us. We'll give everybody just a few minutes to join us tonight, and then we'll jump right in. We got several meetings to cover. There was 4 meetings last night, and that kind of good thing. And we'll just talk about each one and see what we learn. Hello, Miss Vera. Hope you're doing well and enjoying this rain. Well, it stopped raining here. I don't know if it's raining out there, but tired of the rain. Sick and tired of the rain. Anyways, hope everybody's doing well out there. We do appreciate you joining us tonight. Hello, Miss Debbie. Like I said, we'll just give everybody just a couple minutes to join us here, and we'll go through these commission meetings and that kind of thing, and get y'all caught up on what your local government's doing with your tax money and all those other things. Again, remember to like, share, comment. We appreciate it. If you got any questions throughout the night, feel free to ask those. We are on YouTube and Facebook under the Dirt Podcast. Rumble is all one word, the Dirt Podcast UC, and TennesseeFeeds.com. You can find us on any one of those platforms, and we appreciate you following us on there and joining us and participating in this podcast and supporting what we try to do and all that kind of good thing. And we hope that you learn something and get some knowledge about what your local government's doing and that kind of thing. Tired of the rain too. Yeah. I've had a few trees come down the past few times that it's rained, and I don't like that kind of thing because I don't like doing the work, clean up the mess. But anyways, hope everybody, like I said, is doing well out there. And I've seen some of you at the county commission meeting last night, so it's good to see you. We need to get more and more people to come out there and be at those meetings and find out what's going on in person and that kind of thing. And make a little note there. Sorry. All right. Well, we waited long enough, I guess. We'll go ahead and get started again. Remember to like, share, comment, ask any questions you might have. And remember, again, you can follow me on YouTube, Facebook, on the Dirt Podcast under Rumble, all one word, the Dirt Podcast UC, and on TennesseeFeeds.com. I hope you've had a chance to check out some of those other platforms. If you get a wild hair to follow me on Rumble or YouTube especially, I'd appreciate that. Facebook is deleting the videos, the live videos, after so many days now, and so you might not be able to go back and watch a podcast if you want to go back and watch one of them at some point in time or something like that. I go back and watch them sometimes, or I'll cut out things that maybe I've said before and we're talking about again or whatever. I go back and refresh my memory and that kind of thing sometimes. So kind of disappointed that Facebook is deleting those and that kind of thing. Anyways, there was 4 meetings last night. We had the construction committee, we had the planning committee, we had the budget and finance committee, and then we had county commission meeting last night. I was at all those except I got there late. I didn't make it to the construction committee meeting, but I did watch it. And let me tell you, before I jump into all that, I walked in there, and those that follow on Facebook know that I went live at the budget and finance and commission meeting. I didn't do the planning committee because it was very short and they didn't really discuss a whole lot, so I didn't go live on that one. But the other two I did, and I'm going to start doing that from now on. Is my plan in case something happens, but that's my plan. And my allergies are still killing me, so sorry. But I walked in there, and a certain person was there to set up and record and all that kind of stuff like they normally do, or sometimes do. They don't always do it for whatever reason. But so I went in there, I set up my little tripod and my camera and all that kind of good thing. And I'll be darned if this person didn't throw a fit. And oh, look, he's recording now, and actually talked to Larry Lay, and Larry Lay just laughed at her. So I thought that was funny. But everybody doesn't have to watch, if that's what you choose to do. Watch the meeting on the UNL. You don't have to. And there's no law that says that I can't go in there and record. That if you wanted to go in and record it or go live, you have every right to do so as well. It's an open meeting. It's a public meeting, and that's just the way it is. But so started raising such a stink that that some other folks decided they needed to go clarify with some other folks whether or not I was allowed to do that. And they never came and talked to me about it or anything else like that, but they did discuss it among themselves because, obviously I'm there. Courtroom was fairly empty at the time. I could hear them talking about it. And to make a long story short, there wasn't a whole lot of people there that were actually happy that I was recording it. And for whatever reason, because we all know that, the dog poop picker upper paper sometimes cuts out stuff from the video or stops the video and then restarts the video and does different things like that. I don't do that. Actually, Chip Brown was sitting right there, right where my camera was, and he actually offered me to sit down right there so I could do whatever with the camera and all that kind of stuff. And I said, absolutely not. I appreciated the offer, but I'm not doing that. I set up my camera, I push record and go live, and my camera stays on. And so I actually started it, and I actually sat like 3 or 4 benches back. And that's the way it is. And that's the way I'll continue to be. I'm not cutting the camera for anybody. I'm not going to, just make sure certain parts are recorded and some aren't. I'm just not going to do it. So I'll go up there and I'll set up my camera and I'll start it. And until the end of the meeting, it'll be on. Unless, it dies or, internet goes out or something like that I can't control. But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to cut my camera. The taxpaying citizens of Union County deserve to know what's going on. And I understand that everybody doesn't want to go to the meeting and that kind of thing. I know a lot of people just, I'm at, before the podcast, I was at 2.5 thousand views on last night's commission meeting. And so obviously a lot of folks like watching it and not necessarily attend. And that's fine. just as long as you're prepared to, if you see something you're not comfortable with, as long as you're prepared that you can stand up and fight for what you believe in if the case comes. But I'm not going to try to sugarcoat anything. I'm not going to try to, like I said, cut my camera just to make them feel better. And let me make this point clear one more time. I am not after the mayor. I am not after any of the commissioners. I am not after any of those people. I'm not trying to get them or anything like that. I am simply a citizen activist that's just simply trying to hold my local government accountable for what we elected them to do. And yeah, I do the podcast, and yeah, I get on here and I give you my opinion or my commentary on it or whatever. And that's just what I do. It's just, that's what my podcast is for. But, people think that I always talk negative and I do this and I do that. I don't. Don't give me a reason to talk about something that you're doing that I don't agree with and not expect me to respond. That's just not the way this works. Everybody has their opinion. You're not going to agree with me all the time. Doesn't make you my enemy. It doesn't make me mad at you. It's just the way the United States is supposed to work. And then we come together, we talk about it, and we come up with a solution and those kinds of things. That's what I am trying to do with these podcasts. But then I get attacked for it and I get called names and, a liar and all this other troublemaker and all these other things. That is not my intention. Not my intention at all. And yeah, I've been making those little videos and all that kind of stuff. That's just an entertainment. That's just fun. That's trying to get a laugh and that kind of thing. I don't have any of those for tonight because there's so much to go through with these meetings. But, it is what it is. But they're not going to bully me. They're not going to shut me up. And they're not going to stop me from doing what I believe is right. And they're not going to stop me or violate my, my rights as a citizen of Union County or Tennessee or the United States or anything else. They're not going to. And I will fight that fact to my dying day. As long as there's breath in me, as long as I can continue to go to those meetings and do all the things that I do, I will continue to do that. And that's just the fact of it, right? And so for this reporter to get so upset because I'm recording, doing the exact same thing she's doing, just on the opposite side of the room, and try to make a big deal of it and then try to laugh about it. It's nonsense. It's petty, and it is what it is. She sits up there in the jury box, and they let her have that, special privilege. I guess that makes her feel better and that kind of thing. Whatever. I don't care. I'm going there. I'm going to record the meeting, and it's just going to be what it is. And I might make clips of some of the things that happen and play them on the podcast. I might not. But if somebody else decides that they want to go and record on the other side of the other side of the courtroom, so be it. If 10 people want to go and record it, so be it. I'm not going to get mad about it. I'm not going to get jealous. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt. So I just don't understand why she got so upset because I was recording. It just made me laugh a little bit. But Mr. Hale, I seen you last night and your wife. Thank y'all for attending the meeting. And I appreciate you, and you're welcome. I'm just trying to do what I think is right. All right, let's get into some of these meetings. There wasn't a whole lot of fireworks. It was actually kind of quiet last night, which was kind of surprising because I expected to go in there and be given the evil look and all that. But, it is what it is. there was some people that showed up at the meeting last night that I appreciate, and I actually think a lot of some of the people that attended the meeting, and some that in particular showed up last night, um, because they seen what happened in the last county commission meeting, and they wanted to come and support me in case something did happen, or also they felt that it's now their duty to also show up at the meeting and actually take a stand if something that they didn't agree with went on. So, we're starting to roll. We're starting to move in that direction, and I hope a lot more of you start showing up and get behind candidates and all those things that we've already talked about. So, anyways, so let's get into these meetings. Sorry about that. The first meeting was the construction committee. You find my notes there. I do take notes at every meeting, so I don't come on here and just make stuff up like they accuse me of, and that kind of thing. I try to go by the facts as much as possible. First of all, I hope that you actually seen the news last night. There was another update on the deputy that tased the young woman. And they came out that he was actually had a habit of tasing folks, and actually they had 3 more reports of some other folks that he tased, and even confirmed, because I tell all these lies and everything that the establishment folks like to say that I do. The sheriff's own documents that they supplied to the news, Channel 10, actually confirmed, a while back. When I did the interview with Constable Dennis, we talked about the fact that this former deputy actually tased the constable when he was handcuffing a guy that wasn't resisting or anything. And so the news was supplied a document from the sheriff's department that actually backed that up. And so, maybe I'm not a liar. Maybe I do tell the truth. But it just cracks me up sometimes, folks. I'm sorry that maybe you don't find the humor in it, but it is what it is. Anyways, so the construction committee met, and they are looking over and trying to build 4 different buildings, and they're trying to get these done. Sometimes 2 of the buildings are they're wanting to have done by next spring. And no, let me back up. 2 of the buildings they're wanting to be done before the end of the year. 2 of the buildings they're wanting to have done before spring, summer. And so what happens next spring, summer? Well, we've got an election coming, so they're trying to get these buildings done before the election. So you've got, let's do Big Ridge first. They talked about Big Ridge Community Center. It's going to be down there between Highway 61 and 170, in a plot of land in between those two. It's going to be a community center. They're hoping to have it done by the end of the year. It's going to be apparently what they talked about last night, not confirmed as concrete yet. They're still working on plans and all that kind of thing. But the plan right now is for a metal building at the top of the lot, which will be the community center. And, I've griped about the fact that we need an EMS station out here. We need ambulance service. So they're actually looking at possibly putting an EMS building out there detached on the lower end by 61. And they'll have a bathroom and resting area and all that kind of stuff for the EMS workers on that. And that the EMS part of the building may not happen as quickly as the other, based on finances and that kind of thing, but they're going to try. They still have to get a septic permit and lay out how the septic's going to be. Driveway permit they still have to do. They have to do all the grading work. They're going to try to have that done before the next meeting of the construction committee, so that they have a better idea of what this building might look like, where they can put it, and if they're going to have enough room, and where they're going to have enough room for parking and all those kinds of things. And Danny Cook is making all the plans for these buildings and that kind of thing, kind of sketching them out, not blueprints, but kind of getting an idea of how they're going to be, and then going to turn it over and actually get the drawings and that kind of thing from whatever company that they choose to use for that. As far as the grading goes, and that kind of thing, getting the land ready, Commissioner Simpson is actually volunteered his time to do that. The only stipulation with that is he requested the county pays for the equipment. Other than that, his time is going to be donated as in kind, and that way, they're bragging that it's going to save the county money and all that kind of good stuff. So, good thing there. Thank you, Commissioner Simpson, for making that offer, and that kind of thing. One other thing that happened in the construction committee that I wanted to point out before we go to the next property, Commissioner Dyer decided that I know I say a lot and that kind of thing. It's just the way I talk. It's just the way my mind works. Don't know why I say it, but I do. But anyway, so Commissioner Dyer decided that he had to make fun of that in the construction committee meeting last night, because guess what? He kept saying and that kind of thing. And so he had to point it out, and he actually made a little joke about it and said, I feel like I'm on a podcast. And so anyways, that just goes to prove that Commissioner Dyer actually watches this podcast. And so thank you very much for your time and your attention and your support of the Dirt Podcast. So thank you very much, Commissioner Dyer. I appreciate it. Thumbs up. Anyways, continuing on from there, you go to the Speedwell Community Center. You get ahead of me there, Mr. Hale. That happened in the commission meeting. So the Speedwell Community Center, it's going to be a all brick building. Difference is how much money they want to spend. They want to save money in the Big Ridge side, so they're going to put a metal building up. And Big Ridge or Speedwell is going to get a block building and that kind of thing. Again, Commissioner Simpson is going to do that grading work. County's going to pay for the equipment. It's got to be cleared and all that kind of good thing. We're going to have some small windows in it because they're worried about it getting broke into and that kind of thing. They're going to put a porch on that building on the size of 8 by 20. This community center over there is going to be a 30 by 60 building. And they hope to have it constructed in 2.5 to 3 months after they get started. And they're hoping to break ground by the end of June. If they can get everything done by then, they're hoping to have this building and the Big Ridge Community Center completely built and open for business by the end of the year. 8-foot ceilings, metal roof, all those kinds of good things. I'm just trying to get through this. I know it's kind of boring. But anyways, so there's also going to be the dump or the trash or convenience center, whichever one you want to call it. I know everybody calls them different. It's actually a convenience center, and folks are going to be able to take the trash out there in the Speedwell community, and maybe we'll be able to stop paying Claiborne County for taking the trash from out there and that kind of thing. So that's going to be in the parking lot of this community center in Speedle. The other thing they're talking about is EMS building out there in the chapel. They're hoping to have it done by spring or summer of next year. The EMS building is going to be 40 by 75 building. It's going to have 16-foot walls for the bay, 8-foot ceilings in the living space. Of course, they'll have beds and all those kinds of good things for the EMS workers. Like I said, for the EMS building in the future in the Big Ridge community. This money, if they have enough money, they're limited on funds because that money was set aside back when they got all the COVID money, and they've been looking for property for all this community centers for that long. Maybe he wasn't supposed to know he was watching. He's the one that admitted it, so that's on him. Taxpayers can afford it. Apparently we can. Anyways, they're going to have another meeting in the near future. They didn't announce a date yet because they're worried about the month of June having so many meetings, which I need to go over with you. So let me, in between the construction committee, we'll just tell you what all the meetings coming up. As soon as I can get it, the mayor doesn't have it posted yet. As soon as he posts all the meetings for June, I will get them posted for you as well. Sorry, folks. Like I said, my allergies are killing me. I just got a tickle in my throat, and it won't go away. So upcoming meetings in June, you got June the 2nd, you got audit committee. That's going to be at Quorum Bookkeeping at 9 a.m. You've got a special called county commission meeting on June the 9th at 7 in the large courtroom. June the 16th, you've got a 911 board workshop in the small courtroom at 6. Also on the 16th, you got a 911 board meeting in the small courtroom at 6:30. On June the 17th, you got a budget committee meeting in the large courtroom at 6 p.m. On the 23rd, you've got the planning commission, large courtroom, 6 o'clock. County commission meeting on the 23rd, large courtroom, 7 p.m. On the 27th, you got opioid abatement board. It's recovery court office at 9 a.m. And then you've got a special called budget committee meeting on June the 30th in the large courtroom at 6 p.m. Why so many meetings? It's because it's budget time, and we've got to get this budget sent in before July. And so that's why there's so many meetings and all those kinds of good things. And I've not really heard a whole lot about the budget this year, which is kind of surprising because normally we hear all kinds of things. They talk a lot about it, but maybe we'll learn more coming up in June about what the budget looks like. All they kept saying last night was it's a balanced budget and we didn't have to take no money out of this and that and the other. And I guess there's no tax raises yet. And that's a stipulation I'm going to put out there yet because we'll talk about something else in just a minute. Another meeting they had, a planning commission meeting. Like I said, they didn't really talk about much of anything other than giving the mayor permission to throw away some stuff that he's been holding on for years now. And that was pretty much all the meeting. And so now we're going to the budget committee meeting. And talk about it. So the drug recovery court is over at the old jail, or Travis Patterson's old office, or however you know it over there on the other side of Highway 33. Don't look like they have budget. Well, hello, Miss Booth. So one of the things that was brought up by Larry Lay is the rent that they're paying for that building. And they're paying $2,500 a month to rent that building for recovery court. So taxpayers are paying $60,000 for a 2-year contract to rent that building. Now they're going to tell you that it's not taxpayer money because it's paid for through the drug um, uh, settlement, the opioid settlement, and that kind of thing. But you know, whatever you want to call it, it's paid for by our money somewhere, right? Um, so contracts, we got 2 contracts that got approved from out of the mayor's office to pay 2 folks. They're 2 different contracts. One is a 1-year contract for a young man named Justin Collins. Another one for Candace Coram to be a grant coordinator. Like I said, these are contracts out of the mayor's office, out of the mayor's budget. But it's okay because the mayor said these $22 an hour folks are getting paid, and it's getting paid for through a grant. So it's perfectly fine. Don't worry, it's a grant. Everybody knows what I think about grants. Grants are just our tax money put in a pretty package and give back to you and that kind of thing. But these 2 folks are getting a $22 an hour job for that, for up to 20 hours a week or however many hours it takes. And I'm not going to knock them for getting a good paying job at all. I just don't like the whole grant thing, right? So then you get to the Union County Chamber of Commerce. Thomas Skabinski was there. He talked about what the chamber is doing. They asked him last year during budget season to supply commission with bylaws, right? And of what the chamber does, because they're wanting to know what he does with the money, or the chamber does with the money, and what their rules are, and all those kinds of things. They still don't have those bylaws. They told some of the commissioners that asked, I believe it was Cheryl Walker that actually asked for the bylaws, and he told them, "Oh, I just found them. I'll get them sent over to you in the next few days." It's just weird to me. But anyways, he works 3 to 4 days a week. He works from his home. He wants to hire a part-time employee. He had $40,500 in expenses last year. Most of that's for advertising. They didn't have Thunder in the Park last year. Otherwise, that money would have been higher as far as the expenses go. But it's budget time, so obviously he had to send in his budget and get all that with commission, and that's how I know how much expenses were. So we're at a point now that all the construction around Wilson Park and that kind of thing is supposed to start. Sorry, folks. Start winding down by the time that Thunder in the Park comes around, that kind of thing. And normally we have Thunder in the Park and we've got fireworks and all this kind of stuff. Well, guess what? Last time they did Thunder in the Park 2 years ago, they shot the fireworks off back there behind the funeral home. Well, now there's a subdivision back there, so we're not going to have fireworks. So I believe it was the mayor that said, "How's it Thunder in the Park without fireworks?" And so now they're looking at possibly, instead of fireworks, they're going to do a drone show and that kind of thing. So we'll see how that pans out. Maybe people like the drone show better than fireworks. Maybe they want fireworks. I don't know, but we'll see how that goes. So then another thing that happened was Sheriff Breeding went and talked about TCRS hazard duty benefit, which is actually a benefit that the county may qualify for if, in fact, it has to go through and see if it qualifies. But it's a benefit for retired deputies and that kind of thing. And you have to qualify. You have to be a deputy or law enforcement for 20 plus years. You could also be a firefighter, but obviously Union County don't have their own firefighters. And you could also work as a jailer or that kind of thing. So what that does, it gives them a little bit more money during their retirement for this hazard duty benefit. But the study has to be done first to see what they would qualify for, and that study is $400, and it was approved to pay for that report to see if we can get approved for it and see how much these retired deputies and that kind of thing can get. But the sheriff is going to pay that $400 out of his own budget. So good on that one. It's not necessarily any more money that we have to come up with as taxpayers. It's already in his budget. Larry Lay is still after the middle school, and the school superintendent is still saying you ain't getting it. It's just kind of funny to me. He brings it up almost every county commission meeting and gets the same response every county commission meeting. Last thing I'll talk about is they voted, they did a change on how they normally do things as far as nonprofits go. You know, all the soccer, American Legion, all these groups that come at budget time and ask for a donation. And so they voted to put a cap on how much donations they give, and they put that cap at $100,000. Again, that's our money that they're giving to other groups or organizations and that kind of thing. So they approved this cap at $100,000, right? And they've already, in the budget, maxed that $100,000 out. And then right after that, they decided, the American Legion asked for $5,000. Not knocking the American Legion at all, just saying this is what happened. So then the American Legion asked for $5,000, and county commission or budget committee actually passed the $5,000. So now they had to go over the cap they just put on themselves for the 100,000. So now we're at 100,000 plus the 5,000. And so they had to do a little adjustment, or going to have to do a little adjustment in the budget in order to cover that. And it's just funny. It's not funny, but it's just kind of funny to me. You put a cap on yourself, $100,000. This is what we're going to give. And then somebody else asks for more money. Okay, well, forget about our cap. We'll just give you that money, and then we'll worry about it later. It's just funny. Just funny to me. All right. So now we'll get on to the actual county commission meeting. One of the first things, you always do the prayer and that kind of thing at the beginning of the meeting. One of the things I thought was one of the things that I want to gripe on again, right? Because I gripe a lot. Last week, when we had the unfortunate incident with the senior citizens director not feeling well and calling for an ambulance, and then ultimately she passed away. So remember that family in your prayers. But the mayor said that when she called 911 or called for an ambulance, Union County was at level 0. And what level 0 means, if you don't know, is there's no ambulances in Union County. So Andrew Reed and Stacy Rhodes actually got an ambulance, one of the old ones or whatever that wasn't being used, and actually went to the senior citizens director or to the senior citizen center. And Andrew actually worked on this young lady in the back of the ambulance on the way to the hospital and that kind of thing. But my point is, and what I keep saying, and I've said for years now, is Union County being at level 0 as far as ambulances go is a liability. There's that word. But not only a liability, but you're costing people lives. And I don't know what the solution is, but there has to be something that needs to be done in order for EMS to be able to service the Union County citizens where we're not having this possible loss of life and that we're not having the issue that there's no ambulances in the county. And I know one of the things is that, EMS transports people to their dialysis appointments and these other kinds of things. Why? Because Andrew likes getting that money back in the budget for EMS and those kinds of payments, right? It's a business. EMS is a business. No matter how you shake it, EMS is a business. So then you get a situation where you're at level 0 because you have EMS at, say, Tenova North that transported somebody that was in a car accident, and then you got another one at UT, and then you've got some on these doctor's appointments or whatever. I don't think that's fair to the citizens. So there's other companies out there that can transport for medical doctor's appointments. You see them driving up and down the highway all the time. ProMed and all these other places. My personal belief is Union County EMS should have maybe one designated ambulance a day to transport people to their doctor's appointments or dialysis or what have you. And then, based on that schedule, transport folks. But don't leave Union County at level 0. Don't risk the loss of lives because of things like that. Now, if they're all at the hospital because of some other emergencies, that's a totally different thing. And I'm not saying that was the case this time. I'm just saying the mayor said they were at level 0. EMS buildings going up. Sharps Chapel EMS is just replacing the old EMS building. The one out here in Big Ridge, who knows when it's actually going to get open. But, every year, Union County EMS gets a new ambulance. They have to retire one, they get a new one. So when these new buildings open or what have you, are we going to get another EMS? I don't know how that's all going to work. But as far as being hired, Union County EMS is already understaffed. And I've talked to several folks that love working Union County EMS, but they refuse to work for Andrew Reed and have left because of Andrew Reed and gone to other companies, gone Knox County. And I know several. I could say names. I'm not going to. I could say names right now. A whole list of folks that would actually love to work for Union County EMS, but will not work for Andrew Reed for whatever reason. But anyways, but for us citizens, it's not fair to us that we might lose a loved one because we don't have enough ambulances in the county. what's the answer? I don't have the answer. I worked on this when I was running for commission. I actually had a guy from Colorado that was actually going to come here and meet with me, because they have the same nearly identical population to what Union County has, and I looked hard to try to find comparable EMS situations in Union County versus somewhere else, and I settled on this one in Colorado. And like I said, same tax money, same. I mean, everything was almost perfectly identifiable, right? Perfectly the same, right? And he was actually going to come and explain to me how they do it. And I was going to try to work on this for Union County, but unfortunately, I didn't get elected. And so that kind of fell through. I still talk to the guy occasionally and ask questions, but with the same budget that they have, nearly identical, and all these kinds of things, they actually are always staffed, always have at least one ambulance still in their area at all times, if not more. He actually tells me they normally have three, but always at least one. Like I said, always staffed, fully staffed. They actually have EMS station in every district. They don't call them districts out there, but every district uh, in their area, that is always staffed and all this, and don't have the budget problems that we have for whatever reason, and actually pay their employees a higher wage. And so, like I said, I was trying to work out a way for him to come and educate Union County on how they do it. And he was more than willing to do it and all those kinds of things. But like I said, I didn't get elected and that kind of thing. So maybe at a later date, who knows? So, but anyways, EMS is something that definitely needs to be looked into, worked on, and something has to be done. All right, nothing my rant on that one. Let's see. So one of the last things that happened in the meeting was the mayor wants this public defender resolution done because state law says that whatever money the county gives to Jarrett Effler's office or the district attorney's office, the county also has to give 75% of that money, equal amount, 75% of the amount to the public defender's office as well. Well, the mayor doesn't like that idea and doesn't think it's fair. And so he wants to make a resolution through county commission, which they did, to send to the state and say, we want this law changed. We don't think it's fair that because we give money to the district attorney's office, we shouldn't have to give money to the public defender's office as well. And so that's one of the rants that the mayor had as far as he doesn't agree with state law on that one. One of the other things was this Matthew Hill from Scott County Telephone actually was on a Zoom call. So we found out that, hey, Speedwell area might get fiber internet here soon. They're 2 to 3 weeks away from finalizing a plan and begin the build out down to the Braden Chapel area. And hopefully in a month or so, folks out there might, or in a month or so, they'll start running cable. And so shortly after that, hopefully the folks out there in the chapel or Speedwell will be able to hook up to fiber internet. However, for the 230-ish customers out here in the Big Ridge area, they're still working on a contract with CUB to use their poles. Also talking to KUB to see if they can hook up to their fiber and lease it to bring it out here to us Big Ridge folks. Us redheaded stepchildren out here don't deserve nothing. Just kidding. But anyways, but that's not going to be possible till probably mid to late 2026. So us out here in Big Ridge, we're just going to have to sit and wait. We'll just be the last ones to get fiber internet out here in Union County. Middle school construction updates. I know this commission stuff is boring, folks. I just try to keep you updated, so I'm sorry. Middle school is at $40 million so far. It's $3.2 million over budget. But they're getting a welding shop there at the middle school and possibly a diesel shop. So that's some good things for possible partnerships with TCAT and that kind of thing. Good things for students and all that. However, the ball fields are going to start busting rock here soon again, which is going to make the cost go way up. And he expects to get a large bill for that. So what's that mean? That means that $3.2 million that we're over budget on the new middle school is going to go up even more. But don't worry, they still have contingency money left. So we'll have to see how that works out. Like I said, the nonprofits, the budget and all that kind of good thing. Balanced budget was balanced until they decided to give that $5,000 to the Legion there. And that kind of threw everything off by that $5,000, but it's okay. The county has $835,000 left in their fund that they could even out the budget with. But $400,000 that is restricted, pointed out by Missy Brown, and so $435,000 of that is their cushion as far as anything that comes up in the budget that doesn't necessarily make the budget balanced anymore and that they've got to fix. You remember a few years ago, they had that issue and the budget couldn't get balanced because their solid waste figures weren't coming out quite right. And they ended up having to fix some of that. But again, we'll learn more about the budget next month, all these meetings and that kind of thing. I'm interested to see what they started cutting because they kept saying that they cut some stuff and that kind of thing, but they never went into detail about what they cut it. And they actually made mention and congratulate it and appreciate it. Some of these departments that actually sacrificed their budget and was willing to make some cuts when they were asked and were willing to do that. I just don't know what those cuts were, and I'd like to find out. So again, we'll figure that out in the next month or so. So the biggest thing that's going to affect you is this. County Commission voted last night to go ahead and purchase the Hubs property for the new jail. So how's that going to affect you? Well, they already set aside the money to purchase property before they found the Hubs property. But that's all they set aside. So guess what? Where's the money coming from when they decide they're going to build this jail? How much money are we talking about? Well, we're talking about $40+ million possibly for this new jail. Guess what? They had a guy there last night, architect guy, who actually went and met with them and looked at the property and all this kind of thing. Said it's a pretty good property. Still needs to be surveyed. The grade is fairly good. There's one part of the property that has what he called a knot or a heel that's going to have to be taken down and leveled out. they decided they were going to enter off a different Myers, but they decided that the best entrance is actually going to be off Prospect. And they need to decide when are they going to start construction. How are they going to do this? When's the best time to save the most money? And so this guy says that you need to start moving dirt by the start of spring. Why is that important? Well, the budget don't get done till June to be finished by July 1. So that means it's not going to happen next year on next year's budget if we're going to start, like this guy said, start of spring. So we're going to have to back that up to this budget. The one that they're working on that's balanced minus that $5,000. Where's the money coming from? They don't have $40 million, $35 million. The mayor says we got $6, $7, $8 million that, but that ain't going to build a jail. So where's the money coming from? It's going to be another tax increase, folks. No way around it. They don't have the money. Got to come from somewhere. It's going to have to be a budget amendment. They'll pass this budget. This is what they'll do. They'll pass this budget. In my opinion, folks, feel free to make yours. They'll pass this budget and they'll brag about, we passed a balanced budget. We didn't have any tax increases. We didn't raise the wheel tax. We didn't do this. We did that. We worked really hard and made cuts for you, Union County citizens. And then they'll wait a few months. And they'll continue the plan on this jail because there's going to be a meeting at the end of June with the architect folks to come in and actually meet with commission. And so they can come up with an idea of what they want the jail to look like. So then what's going to happen? They're going to wait for you. They're going to wait for me to be asleep and not attend the meetings. And then they're going to do a budget amendment. And they'll have to do a tax increase or a will tax increase, some kind of increase, so that you don't know that they just stuck it to you yet again and dug in your pocket. How else are they going to build this new jail? I'm not saying we don't need a jail. I've said that 100 million times. I'm not saying that we don't need a jail. I just don't understand how we're going to pay for it. We're building all these buildings all at the same time. On the backs of hardworking, tax-paying citizens. And I know there's people out there, I'll pay my taxes and I'll do this and I'll do that. That's fine and dandy. But there's some of us out here that can't afford it. There's some of us out here that you keep raising taxes that we can't afford to keep paying. So then what happens? Well, then we start having tax sales of our property and they take that from us. You see how this works, folks? It's all planned. But we're going to keep doing these kinds of things to get further and further in your pocket. So here's something else I thought of, and I don't know if this would work, but you know how they keep saying, well, the will tax is the fairest tax. And it affects everybody. Well, it don't affect everybody. We've had that argument. But here's, the city of Knoxville, and I'm not saying this is a great idea by any means. I'm just saying the city of Knoxville mayor just proposed to raise the sales tax in the city of Knoxville by half a penny or whatever it was. I don't even know. That to me seems like, and again, I'm not saying it's a great idea. I'm just thinking out loud here. But that would be a tax that affected everybody equally. Anybody that would buy something in Union County would be paying that tax. Period. That tax would affect everybody because everybody buys stuff. Right? And again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a great idea or nothing. My point is, they claim that the wheel tax affects everybody equally. It does not. I might have 5 cars that I've got to pay wheel tax on, and my neighbor might only have 1 car. Neighbor next to him might not have any cars at all. And the neighbor next to him might have 20 cars, but guess what? They're all registered in Knox County. So Union County is not getting that wheel tax. So how is that tax hitting everybody equally? It's not. But a sales tax would. And I'm not saying we need to raise sales tax. Don't get me wrong. I'm just making a point. If we want to say fair is fair, let's make it actually fair. That's my point. But anyways, so this architect guy says they need to start moving dirt by the start of spring. So then we go on to the Hubs property. So they had 2 options. One option, they could buy the 10 acres for $300,000 and get 2 acres free. Or they could buy the whole 20 acres for $550,000 and get 2 acres free. Well, at first, Sidney Jesse was only wanting to buy the 10 acres and all this and paying the $300,000 because what we always do in Union County is we lack vision for the future. We don't make plans and we don't think about, oh, well, we might have to expand someday because he just stuck on, we want to do this 10 acres. We want to do it now. Well, then Commissioner Eddie Simpson, I have to give him a little bit of credit again, actually said, hey, if we're going to buy it, why not buy it all and get it done with so we don't have to look for property again later? So again, thank you, Commissioner Simpson. And so they ended up making the motion and it passing to buy the 20 acres plus the 2 acres free for $550,000, which is less than the money they set aside. They had $750,000 set aside to purchase property. Larry Lay and Gerald Simmons both voted no on that purchase. All other county commissioners voted yes. So it did pass. There is stipulation in the contract that says when they do the core drilling and all that stuff, they find something wrong, they can back out of that contract and not pay anything. However, they do have to pay for the survey and the core drilling up front. So we'll lose that money as far as county government goes, no matter what. So, yeah, we bought property. The bigger picture, folks, the bigger picture is where's the money coming from to build that jail? And again, if we're going to build it, like they suggested, by the start of spring, it's going to be on this budget. So don't let them use their smoke and mirror tactic that they always use and give you that warm and fuzzy feeling. Sorry, folks. That they passed a budget a balanced budget without any tax increases or without any of this and out of that. And they did you a favor by not raising taxes, and they did all this stuff to, again, they're thinking, the ones that are thinking they're going to run again, they're thinking for the future. If we raise taxes again, you know who is going to blow us up about raising taxes again. So they can't do that. So they've got to do it a different way. And so they're going to backdoor it. They're going to sneak it in on you. And that's the only way they're going to be able to build this new jail. And again, I'm not saying we don't need one or anything like that. I'm just saying, where's the money coming from? And maybe we shouldn't have started all these building projects and not had a plan in place. You know, we've been having problems with the jail for years and years now. So it's not like it's a new problem. This is something they should have been planning on for years. They should have been saving money up for years to do this. But instead, they're going to take it out of your pocket. Mark my words, here on May the 28th at 9:08 p.m. I'm telling you, they're going to have to raise taxes to build this jail. And then, of course, we've got to build the rehab too, but it's okay. That money's going to come out of the drug fund, the opioid fund, and that kind of thing. It looked like this one. People working there, and sheriff don't give a crap. He's never there. Anyways, folks, that's pretty much the wrap up of the meeting. I know it's pretty boring, that kind of thing, but those were the highlights. That's not everything that happened, but that's pretty much the highlights of everything. And make sure I didn't miss any comments here I need to respond to. He didn't work on your husband. He stayed outside. You've told me that story several times, Miss Beeler, and I am sorry for that. Again, I really wish we'd get a new EMS director, a new EMA director, because he is over both. Don't know what hold he has on whoever he has it on, but anyways, any more questions, comments, crappy remarks? Sorry, I'm a little under the weather with my allergies and all that kind of stuff, so I'm not very energetic today. That kind of thing. If not, again, Commissioner Dyer, I appreciate you watching my podcast. Thanks for your support. And thank you for, letting me know that you watch. Anyways, folks, we do appreciate you joining us tonight. We'll be back soon. Until then, take care of each other. Pray for me. Pray for everyone around you. I'll pray for you. Vote them out August next year. Absolutely. We got to start making plans, folks, for next August. We've got to find some good folks, think about running, and that kind of thing. And we've got to get behind some folks that are actually going to work for the people of Union County and quit all this nonsense that's going on and all that. But we'll see you again soon. Thank you again. Remember, like I said, pray for me. I'll pray for you. And we'll see you next time. Thank you and good night.
You just heard The Dirt, digging to the bottom of every situation to get the truth with your host, Jason Mills. Tune in next week at the same time for another Dirt broadcast.